Hey, what's up? Justin Greenwalt here. Welcome back to the channel. So today I'm doing a review on the MixPre 3 Model 2 from Sound Devices. This isn't going to be a standard review where I blurt out all the different specs and everything. I'm going to try to talk about some stuff maybe you don't know from just watching different reviews from the professional audio engineers and reading all the specs on Sweetwater. Hopefully I can just give you an idea of what this is like to use on the day-to-day. Let me give you a little bit of background. So I actually have a drum channel. I review drum sets. That means I need to have a lot of headroom because I'm doing all this recording by myself. I'm doing the camera stuff by myself, and I'm also running over to play the drum set for the demo by myself. I need something that would just have a ton of headroom that I wouldn't distort anything if I made a boneheaded mistake, which I do all the freaking time. So that's the context. I recently used this at a thing called NAMM, where they announce a lot of different drum sets and musical instruments, and it's a big industry thing that I go to every year. So I had to run a gun with this, with a camera on top of it, setting this up, recording a lot of stuff, and here's been my experience with it. The first thing I want to mention is very, very small, but it's something that you'll run into all the time. There's a little threaded screw mount right here for cameras. So basically you'll screw this on, and now you can mount your camera on top of your recording unit. Very, very useful. But the thing you need to know is that it actually is on some sort of spring mechanism, and every time you release your camera from it, it gets sucked down inside of the unit. And then you got to open up your battery door and take this Allen wrench, and then you have to take this off of the tripod, and you have to take that Allen wrench and poke it through a hole in order to poke this back up through the top of the unit, and then you can screw your camera back on. It's a big pain in the butt. So what I usually do is I keep this screwed on top of this unit at all times, and now this ball mount is always there, and then I can attach my camera on top of this. That way, this is out of frame from the camera, and I can actually adjust the angle of the camera. So just know that going in, you're probably going to want to attach some sort of quick release plate here at all times, or just something, maybe a ball mount, in order to not have to mess with this always getting sucked back into the unit. The next thing I want to mention is about the 32-bit recording mode, which is probably the reason why this caught your eye and probably why you bought it or thinking about buying it in the first place. Two things to know about it. The first is that if you put this in 32-bit recording mode, it's going to take up a lot more data. So you might need a bigger SD card if you're recording for long periods at a time. So just know that going in. The second thing that you really need to know about 32-bit mode is the fact that it takes a very long time to process while you're editing. Not that it's hard to mess around with. Like on my laptop, I can mess around with 4K footage just fine. But rendering it out after the fact takes a lot longer than you might think. It's not linear from going from 16-bit to 24-bit to 32-bit. It's actually exponential. So that means that what used to take me, I don't know, like, a minute and a half or 2 minutes to render 10 minutes of audio, now took 20 to 30 minutes to render. So a video that usually would take, I don't know, 7 minutes in total to render is now taking 30 minutes with video and audio. 32-bit audio on my laptop is just taking forever to render. I'm still going to do it though. It's still worth the cost. But if you're in like a high stakes environment where you have to quickly edit something and then send it off to a client, record in 24-bit if you can, and only record in 32-bit if you have the time. I have the time, but just make sure that you have the time. The really interesting thing to me is that there's no limiter function inside of this when you're recording in 32-bit mode. They take away that function entirely because there's so much headroom you don't even need a limiter. Another thing I want to talk about is this screen. It's got a very tiny touchscreen on it. And I know some people might be annoyed by that in like photos, but thankfully the interface is very well laid out. The buttons usually take up like a lot of the screen real estate, so I never had an issue where I couldn't press a button very well. Most of the time, everything was just very easy to use, and so the screen is actually a very good feature of this system. Now, there are multiple ways to power this unit. You can either use AA's, this is the battery door that it comes with, or you can plug from USB-C over to a wall, because they have a wall adapter, or you can go USB-C from the unit over to like a battery pack that you can buy from Walmart, or you can buy this little attachment right here. So this is for Sony L-mounts batteries. Let me show you what they look like. This is basically how it works. You take the battery, you go like that, and it clicks into place, and it usually just stays there. It's pretty much locked in place, and it's double-sided, so you can put another Sony L-mount battery right there. Just with one battery though, I was going for hours and hours of recording and wasn't even touching the capacity of the battery. So this is just a great attachment. And then it attaches to the back of your unit like this. It's very simple, very easy to use, and it just clicks in place. But there's a problem with this. This attachment is $60 and it's made of plastic. And I tend to be a little bit clumsy. I'm just going to admit it. And the very day that I needed to use this and it needed to work, I accidentally dropped this and a piece of the plastic broke. So I ended up having to gaff tape this to my audio recording unit. So it was a pain in the butt. If you are going to use this professionally, this little battery sled, buy 2 of them. I know it's going to be annoying to spend 120 bucks, but really, if one of these breaks, it's going to ruin your day. It was so annoying. So really buy 2 of them if you're thinking about buying this unit. I really think they should have used stronger plastic, or maybe I shouldn't be as clumsy. I'm not exactly sure which. Overall, the build quality of it is great. It barely has any self noise at all. It's just a very, very well put together package. That's why it's really, really expensive. I highly recommend it. And I was just trying to see if I could mention stuff that normally people don't talk about in reviews. I really think it's great if you need 32-bit audio recording. So that's just my 2 cents on it. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. See you in a few.